Luna here, and welcome to Crit Role Conspiracies, the show where we talk about all the wild and wacky theories that critics have about Campaign 3 of Critical Role. Strap yourselves in, folks, because this was a big one. This is your spoiler warning for episode 13 of Campaign 3, as well as spoilers for Campaign 1 and Campaign 2 because of so many connections to these past campaigns. They just keep throwing them at us. We kick off this episode with the ball, the event that we've all been waiting for, and the party's attempts to switch the ring of Lord Armand Treshy without him noticing. The party is split into two teams. On Team 1, we have Dorian, Fern, Orem, and Imogen, who are on Team Switcheroo. It's their job to actually do the ring switch. On Team 2, we have FCG, Chetney, Lordna, Ashton, and Lord Estros, and their job is going to be to kind of scope out the ball and see if they can pick up any information about who might be on the quorum. If you remember, the quorum is the council that kind of oversees the city, and it has 8 anonymous members. When they arrive at the ball, they have to check in their weapons, although some of them do manage to keep some hidden on their body, and Dorian actually manages to keep the blade he is wearing, which is the Gambler's Blade, which is actually Bertrand Bell's sword. Pour one out for Bertrand Bell. It's nice to see it make a little bit of a comeback. Now, I thought for sure that we would get a party name at this ball. I thought they would be introduced as whatever the new party name is, but no, Imogen uses Dorian's name and the rest of them are kind of his escort. So I think we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. I've really been enjoying all of your suggestions for the name that you want to see, so feel free to keep popping them in the comments below. The other guests are very surprised by Lord Estros' presence, which tracks with what we know about him. He's, a self-admitted recluse. He never goes out. His blinds are always shut. So it causes quite a stir when he rocks up. There are so many people at the party, and FCG casts Detect Magic and is overwhelmed by the sheer number of magic items at this party. There are many powerful people here, all with various magical jewelry and items to protect them and to do other things. This is probably not a place to mess around. Not that that is going to stop the party. Some familiar guests at the ball are Ella Loomis, who is the mother of the Loomis twins, as well as the bodyguard Oshard Brescio, which is the person that Orem came to Marquette to look for. And there's also Gianna Hexam, who is Ashton's sort of criminal patron. We also get to meet some new characters, such as General Ratanish, who is a member of the Paragon's Call, and he's accompanied by 5 other members who are kind of like very scruffy and haven't really put a lot of effort into getting dressed up. I am kind of wondering if maybe these are the people that Gurge was forced to bite. We also meet Headmaster Grizz Alacricious? I'm not sure if I said that right. From the Allegiance of Allsight in Uncarel. He's a kind of a professor who heads up research, and it's just absolutely delightful. We get to hear a great story about how he dreams of being a mango. Fans of Campaign 1 may have noticed a character, Lord Preston Drodelin, who is the Lord of the Quadroads. Now, in Campaign 1, Grog managed to get a hold of a deck of many things, and he drew a few cards from that deck. And one of them, he actually got just a random person to draw the card. It was somebody in an inn at the Quadroads, and the card gave that NPC 2 wishes. If you're not aware, Wish is a really big spell in D&D. It's like the highest level spell you can cast, and basically you get a wish. He immediately wishes to be a man of great renown, a lord of the Quadroads, and then kind of rushes off into the night, never to be seen again. It was just a very cute throwback, and it was fun watching all of the cast react as they kind of put 2 and 2 together about who this was. And we get to meet the voice of the quorum. This is the person who takes, the quorum's decisions and enacts them throughout the city. It's a halfling named Gavas. Oh, where is it gone? Gavas Arande. There are so many new NPC names in this video, but they are very flamboyant, very confident, obviously very used to being the life of the party. I really enjoyed their energy. And Gavas was very enamored with FCG, never having seen, an automaton like FCG is. And in fact, a lot of people actually at the party were very interested and surprised by FCG, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. After a while, the man they have been eagerly awaiting, Lord Armand Treshy, makes his appearance along with a half-elven woman who we later learn is called Lord Emoth Cade. As soon as they get to the party, they pretty much immediately separate, and Lady Emoth is kind of trying to stay away from the party. She's avoiding people, she's hanging on the sidelines. Ashton kind of recognizes that she seems to be waiting for a cue. And there is also one other guest who is familiar but very unexpected, which is Cyrus, Dorian's brother. Cyrus! What are you doing here? Cyrus is supposed to be laying low because he has a 20,000 gold bounty on his head, and here he is mingling in this very public space. That 20,000 gold bounty was put on his head by Gianna Hexam, who is at this party. In a whispered discussion, Cyrus tells Chetney that he is here to meet with Lady Emoth, and that she potentially has some work that could help him get out of some of his debts. That she's done work with the Corsairs before, and so that's kind of how he's found that connection. Cyrus, what are you doing? At some point during all of this, Liam rolls a 24 perception check, and Matt goes over to him and gives him a long whisper. What was the whisper about? I want to know. All of this leads us to the moment. The heist. The dance of the crossroads begins. Aurum has the fake ring, but he gives it to Dorian. Dorian and Fern start dancing. Imogen and FCG circle around the dance floor. Dorian tries to pass Fern over to Lord Armand, but Lord Preston manages to cut in first. Lord Preston and Fern talk about polyamory, cool. Imogen uses telekinesis to try and pull the ring from Armand's thumb, but it doesn't work. Preston spins Fern and Armand catches her. They chit-chat for a bit, and he immediately becomes suspicious when she reveals that she's from the Feywild. Imogen uses detect thoughts to learn that he is pretty wigged out by the fact that Fern might be connected to the Nightmare King. Dorian is still dancing and kind of being told someone's life story. Fern asks to be connected to Gabus, so Armand starts spinning her in their direction, but Fern manages to pop the ring off of his thumb, and he notices. Imogen connects with her telepathically and says, Fern, drop the ring. So Fern drops the ring. Imogen yells at Dorian to pick up the ring, but he has other ideas. He tries to kick the ring out of the way. Armand notices, and Dorian tries to distract him, but he's like, no, I gotta go find my ring. FCG casts guidance on themselves, manages to zip through the crowd, spots the ring, beats a servant to it, and picks it up. FCG has the real ring. Dorian takes the fake ring that he has and throws it across the dance floor to Fern, who successfully manages to catch it and just pretends that she just got engaged. Imogen pretends to look for the ring on the ground. While this is all happening, Lord No's dancing with General Ratnish, but we'll get to that later. Armand tells Imogen to find the ring, believing her to be a servant. Aurum tries to deceive Armand that the ring kind of went that way, but he sees through it and is immediately suspicious. Fern hands the fake ring to Imogen, who then yells out, Sir, I found it! And Armand comes over and puts on the fake ring. What a truly, truly chaotic set of circumstances. Look, I think it was pretty funny that Robbie didn't really get what Laura was saying when she was telling him to pick up the real ring so that he could do a switcheroo for the fake ring. I think, we've all been in that space where we've been caught up in something and you just kind of are moving so quickly that you're not necessarily thinking straight or having time to really hear a plan. And I'm not mad about it because look at the wonderful, wonderful chaos that it created. But oh man, that was so stressful. Okay, so after this all happens, we see that Vali Detrana, the business commissioner, is also in attendance at the ball, and they immediately notice Ashton's mask. Because if you remember, Ashton decided that they wanted to dress a bit like the Nightmare King to kind of give that impression, which, was it a good idea? Vali Detrana goes over to Ratanish and kind of points out Ashton, and the general sort of comes over and tries to do the big whoa, who are you kind of a thing, and sort of rips off Ashton's mask, who then they promptly slap this big Goliath dude, who then slaps Ashton back. It's kind of a little bit of a They essentially challenge each other to a duel and are gonna take it outside. Something really interesting that happened in this moment is that Ratanish, I keep thinking that I'm not saying that right. He said that once he gets the taste of blood, it's hard to lose it. Is this a potential werewolf clue? I know we've been looking for werewolves literally everywhere, but they could be literally everywhere. The two of them start to go outside and people start to follow. It's very much like a fight situation. And Lord Estros mentions that, hey, Ashton is actually one of my personal guard according to the paperwork I put together for this ball, so this is gonna fall back on me, which I feel like is not great. At least with all of the ring stuff, that was all the separate team. That was all Team 1, and Lord Estros' team, Team 2, were kind of removed from it. But now we have both teams have caused a ruckus, have caused suspicion. They're not really people who blend in with a crowd that well. I think this is gonna come back to bite them. Now you think that this would be enough for one episode, But no, there's more. At some point, Chetney notices that Lady Emoth kind of goes off into an adjacent hall and closes the doors behind her. These doors are flanked by 2 guards, and Chetney manages to kind of like bluff or sneak his way past them and follows Lady Emoth. He almost gets busted by the guards, but they're momentarily distracted by the appearance of a, mysterious blue person who goes in to use the bathroom, and we don't realize it at the time, but we find out later that this is actually Cyrus. Anyway, Chetney is following Lady Emoth and using his wolfish senses to do so by, sort of sniffing around, and he smells that underneath her sweet perfume, there's a scent of mold, of decay. And we've had this scent come up before. Chetney manages to catch up with her and finds her looting a suite, a room, and she has gone all oozy with like black stuff dripping from her, and there are shade creepers in the room. Matt doesn't confirm specifically that they're shade creepers because Chetney's never seen them before, but it's very heavily implied. And then at some point they all kind of surround Lady Emoth, and I think she kind of reabsorbed them. I don't know if maybe I read that wrong, but then her skin tone went back to normal. And that is pretty much where the episode ended. We've got multiple things going on at once. Who knows how they're going to resolve next week? So many questions, so many unanswered questions from this episode. What do you think Lady Emoth is up to? How is she connected to Duggar? So Duggar was also connected to the Corsairs, but then left the Corsairs and was no longer a part of the group. What are they up to? What are they doing here? And how is this also connected to Lord Armand? So are these shade creepery gross things working for him as part of his, whatever his master plan is with Ira? Is Cyrus a goner? He kind of disappeared at the end of the episode and we don't know where he went. Who is on the quorum? We still don't really have any clues about that either. And what is up with Lord Estros? A lot of you in the comments have been pretty suspicious of him. And I think the big question that I have is, will Armand notice that the ring is a fake? Those sets of circumstances with which the ring was swapped were so ridiculous and suspicious. I don't know if you've seen the movie Death at a Funeral, but that's kind of what it reminded me of. It was just so ludicrous. And if he's like a high-ranking official, it'd be pretty easy for him to either do it himself or to find someone to cast Identify on his ring to make sure it's the right one, or if it has certain powers that he utilizes and then the new ring doesn't have those. It's a very big concern. All right, before we talk about the theories that you guys have from last week's episode, I want to invite you to join my Discord. I have such a lovely and wonderful Discord community. Every week we do a live watch party of Critical Role, and we're also doing watch parties right now for Legends of Vox Machina. It's a great place to chat theories and also just to chat D&D and other games in general. If you want to join, all the descriptions are in the link below. And if you're enjoying these videos and you would like to support me, you can do so on Patreon or by clicking the join button down below this video. The support of my patrons and members really goes a long way in making these videos happen, and you can do so for just $5 a month and you get a lot of exclusive behind the scenes content, and I've got some brand new content for Patreon and for YouTube members in the mix that I'm planning up, so all the details about that are in the description below. All right, let's get into some theories. I really like this theory from Aku, who suggests that the assassins that went after the Loomis twins and after Keyleth could be from the Feywild. There was multiple years between both attacks, which on the material plane seems kind of weird, like why was there such a long gap? But in the Feywild, we know that time passes differently. Kind of a big feature of the Feywild that you can go there for 2 days, but in the material plane, years and years will have passed. If this is all wrapped up in some big Feywild plot, this could explain a lot of stuff about why there are these long time distances between things. This comment from Spencer, which I think is a really important question. How did Lord Estros get a copy of the ring if Lord Armand never takes it off? I actually think this is a really important question that the party probably should consider, because just how? Is there some personal connection there that allowed that to happen? It might reveal a little bit about Lord Estros's motives if we knew how he got that ring. And you know what? It's time for a little moon check. I think maybe this might end up becoming like a reoccurring segment on the show, because we're just getting more and more moon stuff every week. So Ace Trainer Brandino points out that in Campaign 2, when they went to the Plane of Fire, they found a journal written by Plane Rider Rin, which stated, "I continue to find an aberration in my data pertaining to Exandria, a cyclical, months-long slow surge in low-level magical interference that then recedes just as slowly, something that tangles my readings and upsets my analysis. It is too faint to identify the arcane nature at source, but I worry if this pertains to the shifting between the veils. It could be something very interesting, something very frightening, very wonderful. More tests are required." This shifting cyclical stuff could absolutely have to do with that orbit of Ruidus, which we know is like a year-long orbit. Very, very cool. Keep those moon theories coming for next week's moon check. Is that a good name for this segment? I don't know. If you got a good name for it, let me know in the comments. A lot of the talk last week was about FCG, so let's dive a little bit into what's going on there. I actually want to talk a little bit about something that happened in Campaign 2, which I think is probably directly related to FCG's backstory. So in Campaign 2, the Mighty Nine visited the ruins of Aor, which used to be a floating city full of arcane technology, sort of governed over by mages pre-Calamity. And during the Calamity, it crashed into Isilcross, which is now this kind of like frigid wasteland. Now, the Mighty Nine came across a broken automaton, which they dubbed Charlie, which basically was kind of like a helper droid. It was sort of directing them about where to go, but it didn't have much in the way of like function, I guess, or personality. They found a place where they could actually fix Charlie. So they took him there and he kind of went in this fancy machine and he came out completely fixed, and he actually had a whole personality and like a whole humanity in the same way that FCG does, and his name was Devexian. Now, Devexian at this point split off from the party to awaken his brethren, and Matt has confirmed that this essentially meant that the Mighty Nine have introduced Aormatons, or I guess it's like the Exandrian version of Warforged, into the world. So this happened about 10 years prior to the current events in Campaign 3. So how does this relate to FCG? Well, on Crit Role stats, FCG's race is listed as Aormaton, and they have in their FAQ that Matt actually confirmed that yes, FCG is an Aormaton. So what is he doing here in Marquette? Is Dancer someone who found him in Aor and then kind of patched him up? Or did the attack on Dancer and the party happen, you know, well in the past, pre-Calamity, and he's been hanging out in Aor this whole time until somehow he got woken up? I know that Ashton apparently found them in like a silver mine that he was supposed to be clearing out. So clearly Ashton didn't find him just in Aor, but there's got to be a connection there somehow. A lot of you out there believe that FCG is actually the one responsible for killing the party. I hope not our sweet, wholesome robot. You all also had some really interesting theories about what those 2 points were that Sam noted down when delving into FCG's past. Some of you think that he's going to be accruing those points, and when he reaches a certain threshold, he will sort of unlock those missing memories. Others believe that when he reaches a certain threshold, that it will make him go mad, or he'll turn into this kind of like killer robot, or that once he reaches that point he will sort of unlock his like true personality in the same way that we saw Charlie and Devexian. Whatever's going on there are so many mysteries. I hope we're going to get a little bit more info on that. We're going to move to a new bit that I'm going to do in these videos, which is comment of the week. And the way we're going to find that comment of the week is that I want all of you to go down there, and as you're adding your theories, you know, read some other ones and hit the like button for the ones that you enjoy, and then that will sort of push those ones up and we'll pick the top comment to look at in the next video. But for this week's top comment, I have just picked this one because I thought it was really funny. Matthew Kohler points out that this campaign, the whole point of this campaign is for Matt to have his revenge. And I really love this idea because we've seen so many things come up this campaign already that were things that like the party paid him out for, like the doors and the furniture and the chairs. There's gonna be mispronunciations galore. I just like Matthew's comment that like, I know deep in my heart this is Matt's game. That's all from me this week, and from Molly, who's just been hanging out here next to me. I hope you all have a great week, and remember, Owlbear Man is always watching.